Okay, so you're building your own rooftop tent brand. That is awesome. You've already done the hard work of finding what looks like a great supplier. But hold on, because the most critical phase is actually right now, before you send a single dollar. So let's dive into the 6 things you absolutely have to confirm to protect your business.
You've done the evaluations, you've picked your partner, and you're revved up and ready to go. But this moment, this pre-production phase, is where a great idea can turn into a really costly mistake. I mean, we're talking about a big, complex product with a ton of moving parts. Shells, frames, fabrics, you name it. Getting this part right is, well, it's everything.
So that's the big question, isn't it? The money is sitting there, ready to go. But are you really protected? I mean, what happens if your design gets copied? What if the shipment is months late? Or what if your payment just vanishes? That is exactly what we are going to break down right now. We're going to tackle this in 3 simple parts. First up, the paperwork protection. This is all about securing your money and your ideas. Then, we'll get into the production promise, making sure you actually get what you ordered. And finally, we'll cover the payment playbook, so you can manage your cash flow like a pro.
Let's start with your first line of defense, the paperwork. Now I know, it sounds boring, but these are not just formalities. Think of them as the foundational shield that protects your entire investment and, really importantly, your intellectual property.
The very first piece of paper you need to ask for is the Proforma Invoice, or PI for short. You can think of it as a detailed preview of your final bill, but it's so much more than that. If you don't have a formal multi-page contract, this document basically becomes your main agreement with the supplier. And a PI has to be ridiculously specific. It's not just a price tag. It needs to list every single detail. The exact tent model, the materials, like the ABS shell or the aluminum frame, colors, pricing terms, even the currency you're paying in. Trust me, if something goes sideways later, this document is your proof of what was actually agreed upon. So, once all the commercial details are locked in, how do you protect your actual ideas, your design? This is where your next shield comes in, the non-disclosure agreement, or NDA. And you've got to know, this is a very real risk. If your rooftop tent has a unique design, or a custom logo, or some special fabric, a shady supplier could absolutely produce a few extras and sell them on the side. Or worse, just copy your entire design for their own brand. It happens. A good NDA clearly spells out what information is confidential, and crucially, it includes penalties if they break the rules. Now, most suppliers in China won't just offer you one, so you need to provide it. And here's a pro tip for you. If a supplier seems weird about signing it or hesitates, that is a massive, massive red flag. All right, with the paperwork in place, you're protected. Now let's move to phase 2, the production promise. This is all about making sure those paper agreements turn into a real, physical product that meets your standards and actually shows up on time. You know, this journey from a factory floor in China all the way to your customer's truck, it's a long one. Any delay at the production stage creates a domino effect. It messes with your launch, your marketing, and your reputation. That's why nailing down the lead time is totally non-negotiable. Listen to me on this one. Never, ever, ever rely on a verbal promise for your delivery date. A verbal agreement gives you exactly 0 leverage if things get delayed. The only way to protect yourself is to get that lead time written directly into the Proforma invoice, complete with what happens if they miss the date. This isn't really about getting money back, it's about giving the supplier a really good reason to prioritize your order. Just as important as when you get your tents is what you get. You have to establish crystal clear quality standards. That means specifying the quality for the shell, the fabric, everything. It means testing the functionality of locks and zippers, doing a thorough visual check. And here's the key, consider hiring a third-party inspection company in China to verify everything before it gets on a boat. It is a small investment that can save you from getting a whole container full of duds. And finally, our third and final section, the payment playbook. This isn't just about how to send money, okay? It's about choosing the right methods and the right terms to protect your capital and actually help your business grow. So you've got several ways to send your money, from a classic bank wire to services like PayPal. Each one has a trade-off between security, cost, and how easy it is to use. Choosing the right one is a key strategic move. Let's break down the most common options. Think of this table as your cheat sheet. A wire transfer, or TT, that's the most common, but once you send it, it's gone. It's irreversible, so you better trust your supplier.
PayPal is fantastic for samples because it has buyer protection, but the fees are high, so it's not great for big orders. A letter of credit gives you amazing security for huge orders, but it's really complex and expensive. And Western Union, yeah, just like a wire transfer, only use it if you really trust your supplier.
Now, picking the method is only half the battle. Negotiating smart payment terms, that's where you can really make a difference for your business. This is what determines when you pay and how much of your cash is tied up while your tents are being made and shipped.
So let's look at the usual suspects. The standard deal is 30% down and the other 70% before the goods even leave the port, but that ties up your cash for a long time. A much better deal for you is paying that final 70% only after you get a copy of the bill of lading, which is proof that your tents have actually shipped. And for long-term, trusted partners, you might even get an open account, where you pay after you get the goods. See, it's all about negotiation.
So there you have it, 6 absolutely essential confirmations you've got to make before you part with your money. Let's do a super quick recap.
First, lock down every single detail in that Proforma invoice. Second, protect your brilliant ideas with an NDA. Third, get that lead time in writing. Fourth, define and verify your quality standards. Fifth, pick the right payment method for the job. And sixth, negotiate payment terms that actually help your cash flow, not hurt it.
Following these 6 steps isn't just about dodging problems on your first order. It's about laying a solid professional foundation for your entire brand. It tells suppliers you're serious, and it sets the stage for a strong, long-term partnership that's going to help you grow.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. Getting that first order right is absolutely critical, but the real win, the real goal, is to build a relationship where your supplier becomes a true partner in your success. So the question to leave you with is, how do you turn this simple transaction into a powerful strategic asset for your future?